So today we'll be working with cam and crankshaft position sensors. So this device is a GM tech trainer, basically showing fuel injection systems. As you can see, it has a cam position sensor right here and a crankshaft position sensor right there. And then this would be the wiring diagram corresponding to these. This over here represents the PCM, while these are the two sensors. So as you can see here, you can adjust the RPM and sensor values, but also if you look, you can see that both the cam and the crankshaft sensor are spinning. The camshaft sensor has a series of lugs of different shapes that it uses to detect the speed and position of the camshaft. The crankshaft sensor, on the other hand, has relatively similar gaps in each, with one large gap to locate, usually top dead center on the crankshaft. We will now be working on a 2017 Hyundai Tucson. The wiring diagram shown here is for both of the camshaft position sensors.
Okay, so here we have a 3-wire Hall effect sensor on this Hyundai, and then this is what the sensor looks like right here. It's got a little bit of oil on it, and then if you guys can see right there, there's a little notch over there. That's the reluctor wheel on the cam. Alright, so here I'm going to be testing the camshaft position sensor to see which wire does what. So this first one is our power wire at 12.6 volts. This middle one at 4.8 volts is our signal wire. And this green one over here is our ground.
So we'll now be testing the frequency output of the sensor. So we have positive lead here, negative lead here, meter is set to hertz, and we have pulled the fuel pump relay or fuel pump fuse from here, so the vehicle should not start when cranking.
Alright, so we're going to do a cranking frequency test on the signal wire to see what the frequency will be. As you can see with the cranking, we're getting about 2.25 hertz.
So at idle, testing hertz, you can see the reading does jump around quite a bit, but we are getting a reading from the sensor. We will now be working with the crankshaft position sensor shown in this wiring diagram. This will be on the same vehicle.
So this right here is our crankshaft position sensor right here. It is 2-wire, so that means it's a variable reluctance sensor, and that means it also is going to be producing alternating current. Okay, so here we're going to be testing the crankshaft position sensor. Since it's AC voltage, we are hooked up to see the voltage drop across the sensor. Right now, we're reading about 1 volt. And then as we rev it up, we should see the voltage go up. And as you can see, it went up to 2.3 volts.
Alright, so right now we are hooked up on the crankshaft position sensor down here, and one of our two camshaft position sensors up here for our picoscope. As you can see here, we will be testing for the frequencies and as they change as we rev the vehicle on both the cam and crankshaft position sensors. So as you can see here, with the vehicle running at idle, which is roughly in the 700 RPM range, you can see the sine wave frequency in blue. That's going between about 1.5 to negative 1.5 volts of AC, and the cam sensor you can see in yellow, this is a square wave digital signal. It's shown on here. It's going from about 0 to about 5 volts, and as you can see, these frequencies do consistently change together. The single big spike you see here on the crankshaft sensor is from a unique part of the reluctor wheel. So with the picoscope measuring everything here, we will now rev the vehicle to see how these readings change. So as you can see, the square wave signals got much narrower and the amplitude on the AC signal increased.
So we're going to be unplugging both of the cam position sensors to see if the car will die as it's running, and then after it dies we'll see if it starts back up. As you can see, it didn't do too much. The engine is running a little more roughly.
As you can see here, the cam sensor signal now appears to be a solid 5 volts here since the sensor is unplugged. So we'll now rev the engine with the camshaft sensors unplugged. As you can see, the engine does still function. If we shut it off and try to restart it, it doesn't start, however.
Okay, so now we're going to attempt to start the car after we messed around with the sensors. As you can see, the car's struggling to start, so we're going to do clear flood mode. Step on the gas. And as you can see, the car started up just fine. Clear flood mode coming in clutch. Okay, so now we're going to unplug the crank position sensor and see if the car will start or change how it's running. So as you can see, as soon as I unplugged it, the car died. And here in a second, we'll see if it'll start back up. Okay, so now we'll see if the car will start back up. And as you can see, it will not start back up. Here we pulled up the codes after we messed with the cam position sensors. And as you can see, we have a pending and a history code. Both of them are circuit problems.